There's a question every man needs to confront at some point in his life. Why do I really want to get married? Is it love, stability, sex on demand? Or is it the illusion of control, of finally being enough? Carl Jung warned that most men don't marry because of strength. They marry out of unconscious weakness. Not weakness in the obvious sense, like being needy or broken, but psychological immaturity, a lack of individuation, a blind hunger to complete themselves through someone else. You see, Jung didn't view marriage as the romantic ideal we're sold in movies. He saw it as a psychological confrontation, one that, if entered unconsciously, could destroy a man from the inside out. Society's script is not your destiny. From a young age, you've been programmed. Movies, family, school, religion. They all tell you the same thing. Find the right woman, settle down, be a good man, provide, protect, repeat. But here's what they don't tell you. That marriage, especially for men who haven't faced their inner darkness, can become a spiritual suffocation. You don't just marry a woman, you marry expectations. You marry her unresolved traumas. You marry your own repressed desires that never got examined. And worst of all, you may wake up one day and realize you didn't choose this life. It was chosen for you. Jung called this living someone else's story. And when a man does that, he becomes a shadow of himself, the illusion of completion. Here's the trap most men fall into. They think she will complete them. She'll fix the emptiness. She'll heal the mother wound. She'll finally make life feel meaningful. But Jung was brutal in his clarity. The man who looks for wholeness in a woman will lose both. Because no one, no matter how beautiful, loyal, or loving, can do the work your soul is demanding you to do. The real work? It's inward, facing your loneliness, understanding your shadow, owning your masculinity without apology. Only after that can you choose, not cling. But most men skip that step, and so their marriages become spiritual bandages, temporary solutions to lifelong problems, and bandages, as Jung knew, always come off. Marriage is a mirror, or a prison. Marriage isn't evil, but it is a mirror. It reflects back the parts of yourself you haven't accepted, your neediness, your ego, your hidden fears of inadequacy. And if you're not strong enough to face what you see, you'll project it onto her. You'll blame her for your boredom, your bitterness, your loss of freedom. And here's the twisted part. You chose it. You said yes to a life you never fully understood. You followed the script without asking why. And by the time you start asking, you've got a mortgage, 2 kids, and a silent scream behind your eyes. Jung called this midlife neurosis. It's the psychological breakdown that comes when a man realizes his outer life is a betrayal of his inner truth. The masculine awakening begins with doubt. If you're a man watching this and feeling that itch of unease, good. That's your psyche waking up. That's the first crack in the illusion. It doesn't mean you can't love. It doesn't mean you can't commit. It means you need to know yourself first. Because the man who enters marriage before he's faced his unconscious is like a boy driving a war machine. Eventually, he crashes. And often, he takes everyone with him. So before you say, "I do," ask yourself, do I even know who's speaking? The bitter truth? Most men don't marry a real person. They marry a projection. They fall in love with an image they created in their head. A combination of beauty, charm, and emotional warmth they've longed for since childhood. But Carl Jung warned, what you meet in another being is the projection of your own level of being. In other words, if you haven't faced your shadow, your wounds, your cravings, you'll look for someone to carry them for you. You'll turn a woman into a symbol: mother, muse, savior, therapist, God. And when she fails to live up to that role, you won't know what to do with the actual woman in front of you. The shadow man wants comfort, not truth. Here's what the unconscious male craves in marriage: comfort, predictability, emotional anesthesia. He's not looking for truth. He's not even looking for intimacy. He's looking for escape from his inner chaos, from the demands of individuation, from the path of masculine aloneness. So he chooses a woman who soothes, not challenges, who validates, not reflects, who conforms, not expands. And this feels like peace at first, but slowly something starts to rot. The fire fades, the attraction dies. The relationship feels hollow, not because she changed, but because he never met her in the first place. He married the comfort of illusion, not the chaos of reality. Most marriages are unspoken negotiations. Modern marriage is not built on love. It's built on terms. I'll give you safety if you give me affection. I'll provide if you don't question my emptiness. I'll be faithful as long as you make me feel like a man. It's not sacred, it's transactional. But the problem is this: no one speaks the terms out loud. So the resentment grows in the dark. She feels unseen. He feels unappreciated. She withholds sex. He withholds presence. And one day, they look at each other and realize they're not lovers anymore, just cohabitants in a slow-motion betrayal. Jung would call this psychic disintegration, where the outer form remains intact, but the soul of the bond has quietly died. Individuation demands solitude first. Jung's central teaching for men was this: there is no coming to consciousness without pain. To become a man, to truly become yourself, you must walk the road alone first. You must separate from collective expectations, from your mother's needs, from society's script, even from your romantic fantasies. This solitude isn't loneliness. It's the necessary crucible. It burns away the noise, the projections, the weakness. And what remains? A man who can enter a relationship without dependency, who can love without needing, who can commit without self-betrayal. Until you reach that state, marriage is not a bond, it's a prison. Don't be the man who awakens too late. Carl Jung spent his life working with men who followed all the rules and then collapsed at 40. Men who had wives, children, careers, but felt utterly dead inside. They weren't bad people. They were asleep. They thought marriage would make them whole. They thought doing everything right would protect them from existential terror. But it didn't. And by the time they woke up, the damage was already done. Don't be that man. Don't wait until the mortgage, the kids, the routine have drained you of your soul. Wake up now. Look inward. Face the shadow. Question everything you've been told about being a good man. Because your freedom depends on one decision. Will you live as a ghost inside the dream of others, or will you choose to become? Desire is not meant to be permanent. It comes in waves, and that's natural. But what happens when the thing you once desired becomes a symbol of your own emotional cage? Carl Jung believed that the unconscious has a dark way of turning our desires into traps, especially when we mistake intensity for truth. And nowhere is this more obvious than in marriages. That began with burning passion and ended in quiet resentment. The woman you once obsessed over now feels irritated. The sex is mechanical, if it exists at all. The sound of her voice grates your nerves, but it's not really about her. It's about you and what you projected onto her that was never real. You didn't fall in love with her. You fell in love with what she gave you. In the early stages of a relationship, a man often feels seen for the first time. She admires him. She listens. She gives him warmth he never got from his mother. She makes him feel like a king. But this is not love. It's psychological compensation. You're not falling for her. You're falling for the version of yourself that she reflects back to you. And once that reflection fades, when she stops looking at you with wide-eyed wonder, you feel lost, betrayed, irritated. Why? Because she stopped playing the role you assigned her, and now you're left with a real person, not your fantasy. And most men aren't prepared for that. The death of Eros and the rise of obligation. Jung spoke about the loss of libido, not just in the sexual sense, but as a symbol of psychic energy. In marriages built on fantasy, that energy dies fast. Suddenly, everything becomes obligation. You go on dates because you're supposed to. You say "I love you" like a ritual. You touch her not out of passion but guilt. This is the death of the erotic, not just sex, but the spark of life. And when that spark dies, men begin to rot internally. They withdraw, they watch porn, they fantasize about other women or other lives, but they don't confront the root of their discontent. Why? Because that would require facing a brutal truth. You never really knew her, and you never really knew yourself. When the hero becomes the prisoner. In the beginning, a man feels like a hero in love. He's building a future, he's protecting, he's providing. He feels powerful. But slowly the dynamics shift. She wants more time, more compromise, more control over how the home feels, how the life flows. He gives in because he wants peace. But in doing so, he gives away something much more dangerous, his autonomy. Now he's not a man. He's a provider, a passive roommate, a ghost of the masculine presence he once embodied. And deep down, he resents her, not for changing, but for reflecting how he surrendered. What Jung would say about falling out of love. Carl Jung wouldn't tell you that falling out of love is a tragedy. He'd tell you it's the beginning of real consciousness. Because when the illusion breaks, the real relationship begins. But here's the problem. Most men aren't ready for that second act. They cling to the fantasy. They panic. They cheat. They numb themselves. Instead of stepping into the work of real intimacy, they escape. But those who are brave enough, those who face their resentment and ask, "What part of this was my fantasy?" they have a chance at liberation, not from the woman, but from the parts of themselves that built a prison and called it love. Carl Jung made one thing clear. Every man carries within him the eternal image of woman, the Anima. She is not your girlfriend, not your wife, not your soulmate. She's inside you. The Anima is your internal feminine, your emotion, intuition, sensitivity, chaos. And until you face her, you will project her onto the women you meet. That's the trap. You think you're falling for her, but really, you're chasing the unconscious image inside your own psyche. You expect her to be everything your Anima should be, and when she doesn't live up to it, you punish her. Not outwardly maybe, but silently, with detachment, criticism, or withdrawal. This isn't love, it's projection. Most men project their Anima, then resent the result. The immature man wants a woman to complete him, to be his emotional compass, to keep him grounded, connected, whole. But here's the dark twist. The more responsibility you place on her to carry your emotional life, the more resentful you become. Why? Because part of you knows she can't do it, and part of her knows it too. She feels the weight of being your therapist, your nurturer, your mother, and she pulls back, not out of coldness, but self-preservation. This is where most marriages begin to unravel, not through dramatic fights, but through slow erosion. Two people silently realizing they've been playing roles in a story they never understood. Love without self-knowledge becomes a form of possession. Jung believed that love without psychological depth is just another way to possess. You don't want her, you want to own her affection. You want to control her attention. You want her to orbit you like a planet around a dying sun. That's not connection, that's ego. And when she pulls away, emotionally or sexually, you don't ask, what's shifting in the relationship? You say, why isn't she mine anymore? Possession masquerades as loyalty. It says, she belongs to me. But real love says, she chooses me every day. That difference matters. Because when your identity depends on being chosen, you're one step away from collapse. You must integrate the Anima before you marry anyone. Here's what Jung would say to every man thinking about marriage. integrate your anima first. That means feel your emotions without fear. Learn to self-soothe, connect with intuition, embrace the creative, the irrational, the chaotic. Understand your relationship to women without projecting your unmet needs, because until you do that, every woman you love will carry your psychological baggage, and it will crush the relationship. She will feel burdened, you will feel disappointed, and what started as romance will end in unconscious warfare. The mature man doesn't need a woman, he chooses one. Here's the paradox. Only the man who doesn't need a woman is truly ready to love her. Why? Because he's not seeking completion. He's already whole. He can hold space for her chaos without collapsing. He can allow her freedom without feeling abandoned. He can receive love without becoming dependent on it. This is the power of the individuated man. He walks into love with clarity, not fantasy. He sees the other person, not as savior or possession, but as a sovereign being. And from that place, love is not a negotiation, it's an expansion. Let's be clear, Carl Jung was not anti-relationship. He was anti-illusion. He didn't say, never get married. He said, never merge your life with another until you've done the inner work. Most men want marriage to be a shortcut to fulfillment, a quick fix to loneliness, a built-in identity. But Jung would say, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Marriage without deep self-awareness is just fate playing out through your wounds. You think you chose her, but really your trauma chose her. Your ego chose her. Your fear of being alone chose her. And then you wonder why you feel trapped. When marriage becomes a ritual of self-betrayal, look around. Most men are in marriages they didn't consciously enter. They were pressured by time, family, religion, social scripts. They thought it was what men do. They wanted stability, admiration, routine, and at first, they got it. But now, they feel invisible, neutered, dead inside. Why? Because the deeper masculine self cannot survive in a relationship built on performance and suppression. When you cut off your wildness, your sexual truth, your spiritual hunger, you don't become a better man. You become a ghost, and she can feel it. She's not drawn to you anymore. She doesn't respect the man you become, because he's a shell of the man she once met. And worst of all, you know it too, but you feel too far gone to change. Jung's marriage threshold: only the sovereign should bond. Jung believed the only way two people could unite meaningfully is if both were individuated. That means you've faced your shadow. You've broken free from your parents' emotional blueprint. You've stared down your need for validation. You've learned how to carry your own emotional burdens. You've stopped outsourcing your purpose. Only then do you approach a relationship as a sovereign man, not a wounded boy in search of healing through sex or praise. And when two sovereigns meet, there is no power struggle, there is no manipulation, there's no emotional blackmail. There is presence, there is truth, there is fire. But that kind of marriage is rare. Most men never even reach the doorway. If you're going to risk it, make it a sacred bond. If you do choose to marry, make it a spiritual act. Not a legal contract, not a performance for society, not a compensation for emptiness. Marry a woman who challenges you, not coddles you. One who respects your solitude as much as your presence. One who loves the man you are, not the role you play. And more importantly, be that kind of man. Because the truth is, the world doesn't need more marriages. It needs more awakened men. Men who walk into love with their eyes open. Men who don't trade freedom for comfort. Men who love with strength, not desperation. Final message: do not obey, awaken. So if you're a man watching this, don't rush into what looks good. Don't obey the rules written by people who've never met their soul. Don't follow tradition blindly just to feel normal. Your path is different, harder, lonelier, but more real. If you do the work, If you stare into your psyche and refuse to look away, then maybe, just maybe, you'll find a woman who meets you at that same depth. And if not, you will still be whole, still be free, still be a man. And that is the life Jung wanted for you.